Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. What we're going to be talking about today are 5 different JavaScript projects that I think you guys should build, especially if you're a beginner, especially if you're just starting out on your journey of learning how to code. I think building projects is the best way to learn how to code, and in here we're going to talk about why, and also I'm going to give you guys a couple of ideas of projects that you guys can work on, because I get asked that a lot, like what is a good project to work on, a good language, stuff like that. So we'll be talking about all that stuff today. As always guys, if you enjoy the content, leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out so much. So the whole point of building projects, when you're learning how to code, right, there's 2 different things you're doing. You're like ingesting information, so you're either using a course or watching videos and you're practicing, and then you're actually using that information and doing things with it, right? You have to actually be coding to learn how to code. The best way to just ensure that you're always coding and that you're coding often is, to decide, okay, I'm going to build a project from start to finish that helps you have like a certain scope, a certain end time, and like a certain goal that you have, right? So you're working towards a goal when you're building projects. And projects, let you practice everything that you're learning, whatever language you're learning, whatever certain topic you're learning, you can actually, take it and really implement it. And once you can do that successfully, you can actually use something that you learned, then, you can actually say that you understand it, that you know it. But until you actually code something, I don't think that, you're actually practicing, and I don't think you're actually moving forward towards being a software developer, right? You can read as much as you want, but you actually have to code. And so the whole point of the projects is to practice all these certain skills that'll help you become a developer, right? Certain things that you want to practice when you're building a side project are things like, you want to make APIs. Maybe you want to have like a backend integrated to your app and that really helps you out, right? Like, working not only on the front end, but a backend as well really gives you a lot more knowledge and makes you a more well-rounded developer. And, building a super nice front end, like polishing it off, not just something that works, but something that functions very well. It's super clean, it looks good. And you can even integrate, a couple of different common themes that websites have. A lot of websites have modals, like pop-ups that appear. A lot of websites have forms where you can like type stuff in. So practicing that kind of stuff is super important. Every website has forms, every website has buttons and stuff like that. So the more practice you get implementing those things, the better suited you will be, to get a job, to work on different projects. And also things like, adding a database, implementing a database somehow. Maybe you have like passwords, usernames that people can log into the website, and all that stuff is stored in a database. So there's really a ton of different things that you can practice, and building projects is the best ways to practice that. You know what I mean? You can also practice with third-party APIs, building fast and efficient websites. So I think, like I said before, project-based learning is the best way to go about learning and becoming a software developer. So let's talk about a couple of different projects that you can work on that, will encompass a couple of different topics. And if you complete all of these, you'll definitely be a much more well-rounded developer. You'll definitely have a lot more experience on your belt. And I just think, all of this stuff definitely helps when you're trying to learn to code. So the first thing that I would recommend building is build like a simple login implementation, right? I just talked about this briefly, but if any websites, a lot of websites have like users and you have to log in to actually use the content. So if you can build that yourself, there's actually a lot of different things that make it pretty complex. You might think, oh, it's pretty basic, but it's really quite difficult to build. And, especially if you want to store all the websites like in a database, you want to implement a place where they can type stuff in. You want to have the username and like emails. You want to check that the emails are valid. Then there's also like, taking the passwords, making sure they're encrypted. You can't just take them as they are, because that's, like a security violation. So you really have to be safe and like encrypt the passwords and store that kind of stuff in the database. And then when you check that they're matching, there's a couple of different things you have to do. So it might seem like a simple project, but I assure you that, if you're just starting off and you're learning how to code and you embark on this project and you're saying, okay, I want to build a login, I want to get one working. I guarantee, you'll find a couple of roadblocks along the way, and it's a lot harder than you'll think, right? So try it out, build a login, and, the whole point of this list is to give you guys simple projects, because you don't want to be taking on too much too quick, right? Building a simple login is a very small project, but it's decently hard, and it'll teach you a lot of different things. And the more you grow, the more complex the projects you can build are. But for now, just make it super basic, especially if you're just starting out, guys. So another project that you can build is a very simple web app that basically has 2 buttons up and down, and it is just a counter. So you have a big number in the middle, it starts at 0, and you can increase it or decrease it, and that's it, right? So you're implementing buttons, you're implementing the flow of different data. There's a certain count that you're keeping track of. Then you have to implement functions to, increase and decrease the count. So this is maybe for someone who's a bit more beginner and like just starting off. But I definitely think that building this is gonna, be trickier than you think. Again, right? There's buttons, there's different calls you have to make when a button is pressed. What do you do when it's below 0? Is there a maximum that you can get to? Right? There's a lot of different stuff that you have to think about. And, getting the number to change in real time and all that kind of stuff. And, again, it might seem like it's a simple project, but just build it, get it working. And, with all these projects as well, if you can make it live, push it somewhere live where it's hosted on some server or something, that's also very important knowledge and very important practice. So if you can get something like that working as well, that's just more of a bonus on each one of these projects. Right, so the next project we'll talk about is a calculator. So this one is probably on every kind of list you guys can check out. They always say, try building a calculator app. And I agree, it's a very simple project. It's a very small project, but it covers like a lot of topics. It lets you practice stuff like if statements. It lets you practice things like making a responsive UI, right? There's a lot of buttons, there's a lot of equals, and there's a lot of operations that calculators have. So you'll be building a more complex UI, and there's a lot of things going on in the background. And just getting a fully functioning calculator, while again, it might seem simple, I guarantee you it'll be more complex than you think. And you can always, add more things to it. There's like a scientific calculator. If you flip your iPhone sideways, then, it gives you a lot more buttons. So stuff like that. But basically, guys, calculator app is a decently difficult app to build. Try it out, add different features, start off with maybe just an addition, subtraction, but as time goes on, add more things and really make it yours. I definitely think that a calculator app is pretty complex to build. The next one we're going to be talking about is a weather app. So with this app, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be pulling information from a third-party API, right? So you need a place where you're getting all the weather data from. So that's called like an API that, there's information offered to us by other companies. They have like a way that developers can use their APIs to fetch information. And we're going to be, doing that to get information about the weather, and then, taking all that information, parsing it on the back end, and then sending it to the front end in a way that we can display it in a nice way. So there's a lot of things going on. And basically, here you're building your front end for the website. You're building a backend API that is going to make calls to this third party and get all the information we need. Then once you get that information, right, it's not just going to be exactly how you want it. So you have to, parse the information, make it, nice, get all the information that you actually need, and then build a front end as well to display all this information. So this project, there's a lot of things going on. This is like a full stack developer project that you're working on. You can even add, a database to store all this stuff for like historic purposes if you want to be able to search, past dates. You got to always be thinking about these kinds of things, right? Just because I'm giving you guys ideas for these projects doesn't mean that that's all you have to do, right? If you see a place where you can implement something, extra that you think, oh, okay, this might be a cool feature, like a little search bar, or like what I just mentioned with the database, then you should definitely do that. If you have these little ideas, add them. Go ahead. There's no rules when you're building these projects. The whole point is to have as much fun as possible and actually build things that'll help you practice what you're learning in these different courses or videos that you're watching, or boot camps, wherever you are. You actually just want to be coding. So the weather app, guys, it's a relatively small project to implement, but I think the experience and practice you're going to get with APIs is definitely super valuable, especially if you've never done that before, right? Building an API is essentially what a lot of developers, that's all they do. And it's a really good, it covers a lot of different things. There's a lot of different things you have to be aware of, security wise and just stuff like that. So building an API using a third-party API is definitely something you want to practice. And building a weather app will help you get that practice. And finally, the final project I suggest you guys build is a photo storage app, right? So a place online where you can just go on, you upload pictures, you can see them, and then, you can delete them, do whatever you want with them. Maybe, filter them, or be able to search for different pictures, whatever it is. But I just think, throughout my experience working with things like pictures, there's always certain complications that come up. And this is just probably going to be very good practice for you guys, to implement something that is a bit more difficult, a bit more tricky, working with different files, PNGs, JPEGs, how does that affect it? Where you're actually storing these, on what kind of hosting you're actually storing these pictures, right? These are questions that you don't think about when you're a beginner, but you definitely have them. Like, where are pictures actually stored? You don't know all this kind of stuff, and working directly with a photo storage app, building one, is going to give you a lot of very valuable experience. As also things like uploading pictures to like a server and then like storing that kind of stuff on a database. Pretty complex, But you know, you build it once and you get so much experience and you become so much more confident just from building it one time, because you know you can do it, right? You're also going to be practicing on displaying the pictures, maybe zooming in and out, a way to search, a way to filter, who knows, but you can add a lot of stuff. And basically the point of this is to practice working with different files, with different pictures. You never think about, you know, this kind of thing, but it always kind of pops up, and the more niche kind of things you can get experience with, I think the better of a programmer you become, and definitely more confident, because the more obstacles you overcome, right, the more confident you get, and the more that you think, okay, if I overcame that one, why can't I overcome the next one, right? So that was 5 different projects, guys. I guarantee you, if you build all these projects, that, you know, you'll definitely learn a lot. And what I kind of just want to leave you with is, if you're thinking of projects to build, don't think of just a project. Think of it backwards. Like, think about things that you don't really have that much experience with, and then from that go on to building a project that'll help you practice that, right? So, for example, if you've never worked with databases, you've never done anything like that, right? Build an app that helps you practice using databases, and that's kind of what you want to focus on. You want to actually implement what you're learning and always be learning new things. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. As always, if you enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel, like the video, it helps me out so much. Also, leave a comment down below if you want to add to the discussion, if there's anything you think I missed, or any other tips that you guys have, any other projects that you guys have that you think we should build, leave them down below. And as always, guys, have a good day and enjoy your coding. Peace.